Guys, we just completed practice 17 of 25 today. This week we kind of flipped the switch and got out of camp mode and went into kind of a school normal game week routine. We have new coaches, we have several young players that haven't gone through a game week, and we wanted to kind of go through a mock game week, so to speak, here this week. So we flipped our schedule, went from morning practices to afternoon practices, kind of changed our meetings around and kind of did what we're going to do next week as we prepare for our opening game. We have a helmets practice tomorrow. We've got our mock game Saturday, just like we would, for next Saturday in preparation for the opening kickoff. Really pleased with where our team is at right now at this point. Just talked to the team, where we're at after 17 practices, getting ready to go into game week. Compared to the last 2 years, I think we're way ahead of where we've been. We've got a lot of work to do. We're not where we want to be, but we're way ahead of where we've been. We've had a really good training camp. This week has been an outstanding week of preparation, and really pleased about it. I know there'll probably be some questions about the quarterback. I can tell you right now, we feel really good about what we're going to do at the quarterback position. We'll not make an official announcement though until tomorrow, out of respect for the players. We got to talk to our players still about what direction we're going to go, but we do know what we're going to do. Feel really confident about the young man that will end up taking the opening snap for us against Texas State. So with that, I'll go ahead and open up for any questions.
From the root canal perspective, your thoughts on the 8 players who were arrested, and I guess the more important question is status of the 4 guys who are still in the program.
Obviously we've talked about the issue that happened last spring already this summer, talked about it at Media Day. Disappointed obviously, but I'm really happy with the players that we have in our program. Our focus has been on the players here that have been with us in training camp, and our focus has been on building our team and preparing for the season. That's been our focus. Anytime you have members of your family make poor decisions and get into trouble, it's discouraging, it's frustrating, and it hurts, and that's really what it is right now. But again, it happened a while ago. We dealt with it. There's no distractions at this moment. This team is focused and together, and that's our focus, and that's where we're headed.
The status of the 4 guys who are still in your program, was that determined after the September 13th hearing?
Yeah, I mean there's no final decisions on any of the players that haven't been with us in training camp. Obviously, you guys are aware of the dismissals that we made in the summer of the other players at this moment. A couple have transferred already. You guys are aware of that. Regarding the other players, we have not made and will not make any final decisions on their status until this thing is resolved.
How do you prevent this from happening again when you have 110 guys in the program, you have 10 coaches and then other operations people? How do you police stuff from this happening again?
Yeah, it's always a good question, and I've been doing this a long time, and I can tell you, I never made any promises when I took this job over, other than the fact that we are going to do everything we can to bring in the right type of player that fits our culture and understands our standards. We're going to control the things that we can control, and that's the level of education that we give our players, the constant communication that we give our players, and the motivation to make good decisions. When you're dealing with over 100 players that are age 18 to 22 on a college campus, issues are going to come up. We understand that, we know that. Our job is to limit those issues and hopefully not allow them to be big ones. And that's all we can control. We can control our response to issues that come up. Our players understand what our standards are, what our expectations are, and they understand that there are consequences if they don't live up to those behavior standards, and that's really all that we can control. But it's just constant education and communication and motivation about the issues that can come up on college campuses and try to help these guys make the right decisions. And again, the issues are going to happen. We don't like it, but we're going to deal with them.
With this being the first major issue that you've had here, how do you use it as kind of a teachable moment for the rest of the guys of how you want to change a culture and how you respond to these things?
It's the first issue that's probably it is the first issue that's involved multiple players. We've had other issues. We're not perfect by any means. We've had other issues, and every issue that comes up, from a missed class to something like this, we use as a teachable moment for our players. We've talked about teachable moments that we use for the staff in the program that we take from other programs around the country and other issues that come up. So every day we're digging for and looking for those opportunities to educate our players on what could happen around college campuses and especially college athletics. So it's a never-ending process. We never sleep on it. We talk about the majority of discipline is anticipation and getting out in front of it and communicating nonstop, and that's what we do.
To piggyback off that answer, did you bring up the Florida case that was a year ago?
Yeah, we talked about it a year ago. Around this same time a year ago in August, that was a case that came up, and we talked about it with our football team. We have an area in our locker room, that we've got articles posted up where they, guys walk through the locker room and read that stuff. We have team meeting presentations. So we do a lot of things to try to educate our players on what's going on around the landscape of athletics in general, not just football, but just athletics in general. And again, nothing is foolproof. Nothing's a perfect system. Again, just to reiterate what I said, 18 to 22-year-olds on a college campus, there are a lot of things that can happen. And, it's just a never-ending process to try to educate them on that.
In terms of the quarterback competition, was there anything that surprised you? Was what you expected? How everything kind of played out?
Well, if I told you exactly how it all played out, I'd probably be telling you who's going to start. So I won't tell you exactly how it played out. I can tell you, like I've said from last spring and earlier in the training camp, I'm really happy with the unit overall. The unit has really elevated its play. It's been very tight. The chemistry has been great. The connection with Coach McNulty's been great. The command of what we want to do offensively continues to improve. They're very confident, and they're pushing each other. And it's a great healthy. It's been a great healthy competition. And our football team hopefully is going to benefit from that whole unit. And regardless of who starts, the unit is going to continue to push each other.
We talk about quarterback all the time, but any other position spots up for grabs still as we go into real game week?
I'll start on the defensive side. No, our starting 11 has been pretty consistent really since the start of training camp. So nothing's really changed there. Obviously, with some of the missing players, some of the backups have changed a little bit. We've had to mix and match a little bit to put the puzzle together with our depth on defense, but the overall starting 11 has been the same. Our specialists have been pretty consistent through all of training camp, so nothing's really changed there. Offensively, running back's a different deal because multiple running backs are going to play. It's just a matter of who's going to take the opening snap. That's still yet to be determined. But we're going to have 3 or 4 running backs that play consistently. So that's a little bit different than the quarterback position. But everything else has been pretty status quo. The offensive line, we've been banged up a little bit during the middle of training camp. Nothing major. Some issues here and there that have kept some players out. We have had to work a lot of guys at different positions there. But I think by the time we get into game week, the starting 5 that we anticipated being the starting 5 will be there. Mike Lonsdorf is still going to be questionable a little bit, but I feel pretty good about most of the positions. The quarterback position and really running back position is about the only 2 that we're going to have to decide who's going to take that opening snap.
If Lonsdorf can't go, who would you be looking at?
We've got a number of guys. Nick Crimmin is a guy that's been working at left guard. He's probably the leading candidate to flip over and get some reps there. But we've been playing, Sam Bretman has also been a guy that's been at left guard. So there was a time in camp that on our left side, left guard, left tackle, 3 of our 4 guys that started in a 2-deep at training camp were out. So we were rolling a lot of guys trying to figure out, okay, what's going to be next. But again, like I said, the good thing is no major injuries, nothing that's going to require him to miss a real length of time.
Would you move Jonah to left guard?
No. Jonah's playing really good right now at right guard, and that's his spot. If he were to move from there, it would be to center. He's kind of our backup center. He's our swing guy there between guard and center. But Jonah's had an outstanding camp. I think Jonah right now is playing at a very high level. Each day we have a team meeting and we show clips, good clips or bad clips from the day before. And we're showing a lot of really good clips of Jonah Jackson playing offensive line right now. I think some of the things he's doing right now is as good as we have had on the offensive line since we've been here. So I'm really pleased with where he's at. He's made that switch from center to right guard exceptionally well. He's playing at a high level, and we're not going to mess with that.
Sort of a general question about the line, because I know you guys are deeper on the offensive line than the defensive line.
Well, it depends on what I don't want to interrupt you, but it depends on what you mean by deeper. If you're talking about just numbers,
yeah,
That's one thing. You're talking about guys that can play, that are ready to play in the Big Ten. That's another question.
I guess when you have guys who may have been heralded recruits coming in who aren't in the 2D, fans ask, why doesn't this guy move to this other position where there's a need? How do you approach that? What's the process to moving a guy from one position to the other, particularly if he's switching sides of the ball?
Well, I think fans are similar to the media when it comes to questions about individuals playing and things like that. The thing I can tell you, there are a lot of things that go into individuals playing that media and fans may not know about. There are medical things that come up. There are things that happen in their family life that prevent them from playing. There's a lot of things out there. Anytime that we have discussions about a position switch, first and foremost, we're going to look at how it affects the team. Is it the best thing for the team? And if it is, then we'll have the conversation. And sometimes that individual will make that move, sometimes the individual will not. And then we'll look at what's best for the player. Where can he get on the field the fastest? And again, some guys are open to position switches, some guys are not. Some position switches might be better for the football team, but the individual may not be up for it, may be resistant to it. There may be position switches that an individual wants to make, but it's not the best interest of the whole football team. So it's not as easy to say, well, let's move this piece of the puzzle over here, and it doesn't fit. It's got to fit. So there are a lot of things that we look at before we just say, hey, let's move a guy. And when you talk about, you made the comment about heralded recruits switching, positions. Again, there are a lot of things that go into why a guy is playing or isn't playing. It has nothing to do with recruiting stars or offers. The transition to college is different. It's a difficult one. There's a lot of things that go on in a young man's life, academically, socially, athletically, spiritual, a lot of things. And it's not as easy. Well, that guy was a 4-star. He had 30 offers, or he didn't, and he should be playing. I wish it was that easy, but it's not. So that's a long answer to a short question, but it's important that we talk about that.
Question regarding Trey Snead. Did he come up to you to redshirt a year ago? And
he did.
How has he progressed in that? How did that redshirt year help him?
Yeah, Trey obviously looked at the depth chart last year. We had Rod Martin and Gus Edwards that were two really good players in front of him. And we had the conversation. He played a little bit his true freshman year, but not a lot. I probably wish, looking back on it, we could have redshirted him that first year. He came to me last year before the season started. We had a conversation. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to redshirt. It was like, Coach, let's talk about my future and what's the best decision here. And after a lot of conversation between me and him and his family, we all agreed that the best case scenario was to redshirt last year and have a year of development, of growth, maturity, and hopefully go out in your third year and have a really good year. He is bigger, he's stronger, he's leaner. He understands football a lot more right now. He plays a lot faster. So I think right now it was the right decision for him and for our football team to redshirt him last year. He's got 3 years of eligibility left, and I'm excited to see where he goes.
You can envision him starting, or even like being in the mix, maybe not starting, but
yeah, starting. There's a lot that again goes into starting, but he is going to play. He's going to play on offense. He's going to play on special teams. He's a talented individual that can do multiple things, so he's going to do a lot on special teams as well as play running back.
So I guess Lonsdorf aside, you're pretty confident all the guys who are banged up will be ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of the guys that may have missed a little bit of time during training camp are at least practicing right now, and they're getting some reps. May not be the whole practice, but they're out there getting reps and getting ready.
Do you expect to use a lot of freshmen early on, and has that new rule impacted maybe some personnel decisions with those guys?
The way it's impacted us is we had a conversation with the team the other day. And right now, typically at this time of year, you're having some conversations with freshmen about redshirting, saying we've evaluated you through summer workouts, through 3 weeks of training camp. Right now, it's probably best that you redshirt. You usually have those conversations. Right now, we're not having those conversations because individuals can play in 4 games. We don't know when those 4 games would come, early in the year, middle, or late. We're going to play the best players that give us an opportunity to win games. I don't care if it's a freshman, it's a senior, it doesn't matter. So to say we're going to just play an individual just to play him in a game because he can play in 4 games, we're not going to do that. We'll play a freshman if he is the best player at that position or can help our football team win. I think the real benefit for us is going to be at the end of the year, or if injuries start to mount, we have somebody ready to go play, and we don't have to worry about burning that year. That's how it's going to benefit our program. But I think the rule has sent a message to young players that you need to continue to prepare and get ready to go play on game day, because if that opportunity comes and you seize it, it may create more opportunities down the road instead of, well, I'm going to redshirt, I'm going to scout team, I'm not going to play. And their demeanor, their attitude, their approach to everything just completely changes. So I think this adds incentive and motivation for the young players to keep working hard, keep studying their responsibilities, and keep trying to prepare, because that moment may come, and you just don't know when.
Thanks,
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you guys. Take care.